All the buses are now in at this time. Thank you very much. All the buses are now in at this time.
And yes, if you brought your notebooks, if you brought your pencils, if you brought your headphones, take them out. You'll need them. Kevin. She's live.
She's talking already?
She's there, yes.
Okay.
And I was emailing her till late, and I told her, you know you can call me too, right? Especially since I'm already on the internet with you.
Okay, so she was good?
She didn't, but she had already talked to you.
Oh, she's.
So here, how many ounces would you have total?
Well, don't be guessing. You need to know how he does it. If you're guessing, I can guarantee you that he's probably doing something small. So do you know where he found the calculator?
He might just not understand what you're saying because he's
His
very little
English is not
Spanish.
good?
No. Very little English, yeah. That's why I was translating the question for him.
Well, I didn't really.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good.
I might go over using Google Translate today.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it.
Do I have to go all the way back to find his calculator?
No, what I ended up doing for some of them yesterday was I just went to Google and I typed in Desmond Scientific Calculator and bookmarked it.
I'm gonna mark it for him. Yeah. Once I get his calculator up for him, I'm gonna bookmark it for him, then tell him, and then, explain to him how to.
Okay, so warm-up time is over. If you didn't finish, and I know we didn't finish, you can go ahead and finish it later on your own time, like you can finish it during Red Hawk time, as long as you make sure it's finished by the end of the week.
I'll just come to see how you doing with your, I told you I was gonna come and check out the screens and everything.
Okay, so as long as you're finished with it by the end of the week, no problem. Okay, so before we get started with our lesson, I want you guys to, once you're finished logging out of there, we're gonna take a look at going to Google Translate, okay? Because I know some of us need it and some of us don't, but I wanna make sure that we know how to get there. Okay. So, y Ángel, te lo voy a decir todo en español, okay? And we understand when I speak in Spanish, right? Right? Okay. So, Google Translate. Y si lo necesitas, quiero que hagas todos los mismos pasos que voy a hacer yo. Si necesitas donde traducir las cosas de inglés a español. Si no, okay, so vas a seguir todos los mismos pasos que yo hago aquí. Vas a ir aquí y vas a agregar una página. Y vamos a escribir google.com, ¿ok? Y Miss María te va a ayudar mientras que lo hagamos. Vamos a escribir Google Translate. Porque como que nosotros no vamos a estar con ustedes en la casa, a veces van a necesitar saber lo que dice la pantalla en español. No quiero que guardes esta página, porque a veces no funciona, ¿ok? So vamos a ir aquí abajo a Google Translate. Y entonces lo que vas a hacer es que lo vas a cambiar a inglés y va a estar en español. It's blocked? Okay, so then we're going to have to find another app because it worked last year. Yeah, it worked for Norberto, and so then maybe he's just going to have to use the screen. Okay, so we'll just save the screen. Pero quiero que lo guardes, ¿ok? So lo vas a hacer uno de tus favoritos. Así cuando hay alguna dirección en inglés que no entiendes, la vas a poner ahí adentro. Porque acuérdate, hay cosas que yo voy a traducir en español, pero también hay cosas que no las voy a traducir. So así, cualquier cosa que no entienden algo, lo puedes hacer tú solito, ¿ok? And that goes for those of you at home too. So if you need Google Translate, make sure that you did that. So I know a couple of us need it. I know it's locked. Save the page. Don't save the Google Translate one because I think it's blocked this year. But what you can do is when you go here,
What's blocked?
Google Translate. Last year it wasn't blocked, but this year apparently it's blocked.
Why?
I have no idea because it's not like a bad site.
So I can remember
Okay.
to ask Casey Rimmer why it's blocked.
So those of you at home, for right now until we figure it out, save this one right here. That way you have access to it if you need to translate anything at home. Yeah, she did. So we might just need to fill out another form for him. Yeah. Oh, she's been on since yesterday. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go into our lesson. So we're going to start from our lesson page because I know some of us are still having trouble finding it, and that is fine. We're going to go to our home page. And we're going to go down to the lesson link. Click on it. Once you've done that, and the internet is a little slow today, remember, you're not clicking on the banner. The banner tells you where to go. So it's going to say ratios and proportions, and I put it in the same color. We go down to ratios and proportions. And then this one tells us what day we're on. So we're on Tuesday, and we come down to Tuesday. And this is going to have all the links for the week for us. So we go under Tuesday. Oops, made it too small. We're going to go under Tuesday. You should have already done your warm-up. And now you're going to go to Nearpod. So for those of you who are following along on our Microsoft Teams, make sure you don't log off Microsoft Teams while we're doing the lesson. That way you can hear me and you can also follow along with the lesson. So go ahead and put your name. Make sure it's your name. Don't put in a nickname. And then click Join Lesson. If you need the code is right here on my screen. You can go ahead and put it in. I know, it's very slow. It's okay, we're going to give it time. Okay, thumbs up, we're in. Are you good? Code and everything? You're perfect. Are you good? Okay. You good, Ruby? Okay. Oh yeah, her English is really good. Okay, so we should be on Welcome, Bienvenido, Lesson 2. Yes, you put in your name and then you click Join Lesson. So we should be on Welcome, Bienvenidos, Lesson 2. Your screen should look like mine. Oh, I don't know. No, I was answering Annabelle. No, mine has arrows because I'm the teacher screen. So don't worry about the arrows. The arrows are just me. Okay, so we're introducing proportional relationships with tables today. Okay, Annabelle, put yourself off of mute so I can hear your question. Me lo puedes decir en inglés o en español, pero dilo en alta voz. ¿Qué pasó?
Que si pongo mi nombre o no sé.
Sí, pones tu nombre, o vas a poner Anabel y entonces vas a poner Join Lesson. Así puedes ser parte de la lección con nosotros. ¿Ok? Ok, ahora te puedes poner en mute otra vez. Randy, take yourself off of mute. What was your question? Because you're raising your hand.
Oh, he was before.
Okay, that's okay. You'll be fine. So while you're waiting for it to speed up, you can just watch my screen, okay? Who would have thought we'd be teaching lessons like this one day? It's not bad. I mean, like, it's interesting, but it's different. Okay, so again, this week we're computing unit rates.
Mine is just
Yes, yours is slow.
slow.
Oh, you're choppy.
Barely can I.
Okay, so you might need to re-watch the video later. Okay? Because your internet is a little choppy.
Yeah, he seems to like people out of here.
No.
We're computing unit rates associated with ratios of fractions to solve real-world and mathematical problems. We're going to go over our vocabulary again. We're going to go over it every day, I think, except for Friday, just to make sure that you've got it. So our words are going to be, I'm going to put them in our lessons. They're also going to be on the back of the room. Notice that it's green. Everything that we're doing right now is going to be in green. So ratios. Ratios are a relationship between two quantities. Unit rate is a rate with a second term of 1. And we're going to be focusing on unit rates today and ratio tables. A ratio table is a table of equivalent ratios. And yesterday we talked about how to find out if something is equivalent or not. Constant of proportionality is the unchanging value in a ratio of two proportional quantities. So constant of proportionality and unit rate I'll be using kind of as interchangeably, sort of as the same type of word. Anchor charts. I'm not going to go over them, but I do want you to know they'll be on our slides. Our anchor charts are also on the back wall, and they're also located in your lesson page, and I'll show you where to find that later on. They show you the definition, they show you the steps on how to solve those problems, and they show examples. So when we do things like quizzes and different things like that, I recommend you guys coming to the anchor charts, and it'll help you out. Okay, so let's solve problems involving proportional relationships using tables. And I kind of wish that picture worked because it was cute. The guy kept like undoing the table and doing the table, but I forgot that it didn't work on Nearpod. All that work for nothing. Okay, so quick before we start, I want you to look at this table. It says here is a table that shows how many rolls of paper towels a store receives when they order different numbers of cases. So everyone's seen toilet paper before, right? Right? Okay. So you know that it comes in a case, and what they mean by a case is just like that bag with all that toilet paper inside. So if they order one case, there might be 12 rolls of toilet paper inside. So I want you to answer those two questions. What do you notice about the information on the table? And what do you wonder? So on your screen, you're going to be able to type your answer. You can type it in English, you can type it in Spanish. I don't mind either way. So go ahead and take a minute or two to type what you're noticing and what you're wondering about the table.
When I looked at my phone, I thought it was meant to be that way, but really not the way. Is it moving? No one says anything.
Okay, do me a favor and exit. Because I'm assuming that if yours isn't working, theirs isn't working. Yeah. So I'm going to go in one more time and we'll see if that fixes the problem. We're going to do a launch a new live lesson. And then let's try this. Oh, you know what? Hold that thought. I think I know what it is. I know what happened. I used the wrong link. First day of lessons went so much smoother than second day of lessons. Okay, is it moving now? It's moving now? Found the problem. Please tell me when things like that happen. Don't just stare at me like I'm supposed to know what's wrong. I don't like. So it should be working for everybody now. Yeah. Do you notice what's happening between one column and the other? Do you notice what's happening up and down on the column? What is it that you're noticing? And it can be a number of things. You're gonna type, Jesus, so you're gonna click on the T on the bottom and you're gonna type your answer in there.
I like that I can see it, and I appreciate you answering the question, because it's hard to like.
I know it works now. I figured out the problem. I forgot. Like, since I'm not used to like putting the link in anywhere, I didn't realize that it was the one link that I broadcast is the only link that works there. I can't like do another session. Yeah, it wasn't the resetting that fixed it. It was my resetting that fixed it. It was my fault. Favorite part? And I'm like, and the only reason Randy's not on is because of his lagging.
I'm happy to see them online.
And a lot of them are ones that I had in here yesterday. Yes, I know. Jesus, worry about yourself. I know what's wrong with Randy. I talked to him already. Make sure that once you've typed in your answer, you're clicking submit. So we can save your progress, because if you don't submit it, then it doesn't save. Okay, I'm going to give you another 30 seconds. Make sure you get an answer on there. Good. Ulivani submitted. Jose submitted. Ruby submitted. I have a couple people who haven't clicked on the box to start typing. I'm still waiting for some answers. Annabelle, instead of typing in the chat box what you're noticing about the chat, make sure you're answering the question on the screen. Nice. Oh, it cut off some of your answer. I noticed that the first two go by 24 and other two is going by 60. Okay. I noticed that the first two, I think you typed it twice. Between the first two columns, that the following numbers such as 1 and 12 are multiplied by 12. Very nice. I like that one. Keep that in mind, because that's what we're going to have to focus on when we're doing our unit tables. So this 1 and 12 right there is what we consider our unit rate. Each number is multiplied by 12. Good job. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am going to move on. Okay, feeding a crowd. Notice, and what did I do? Okay, quick question. Have you ever cooked rice? And what do you think are the steps that you take to cook rice? I know I cook rice and there's only like 4 or 5. Go ahead and type your answer. For those people who haven't cooked rice, what steps do you take to cook rice? You could do something as simple as, yes. Whoops. Yes. I have cooked rice. The steps are, and then you go 1, 2, and maybe the steps I take to cook rice are different than the steps you take to cook rice, because I know that the way I do rice is different from the way my friend does rice. Mine is always better, just so you know, in case you were wondering. Now, the steps that I take to make the rice do not make my rice better than my mother's. My mom's rice is much better than mine. No, my sister does it like that. We just do like plain white rice, but I buy jasmine rice to start with because it already has that yummy flavor. Right, Ruby? We know. We know. Very nice, Annabelle. Make sure that you click submit once you're finished. I still have some people that are not clicking to type their answers. Santiago, Marisol. Mom makes jasmine rice too. Your mom cleans it 2 times. So I used to clean it 2 times, and I found out that when you clean it too many times, it takes some of the flavor with it. Very nice. See, look at you. Very nice, people. Good job. See, this was an easy question. It wasn't even a math question, except you use math to make rice. Okay, so we're skipping the video because I decided that I'm just going to go ahead and teach the lesson without showing you my recorded video. Because it's just going to be easier that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go over the 2 slides with you, and I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing and how it's going to look like. Okay? So a recipe says that 2 cups of dry rice will serve 6 people. So even before I move on to continue, it says cups of rice and number of people. So we know 2 cups of dry rice serve 6 people. Complete the table as you answer the questions. Be prepared to explain your reasons. So this is our very first ratio table. So what I like to do is fill out the table before I answer the questions. That way I have it ready, and then I can go back and I already have all my answers because these 2 are not the only questions. So the first thing I want to do is I always want to figure out what goes across from my 1, because that helps me figure out my unit rate. Yes, ma'am. We always want to figure out what our unit rate is first. So what we're going to do is start on the left side of our table. So we want to figure out how we get from 2 to 1. What do I have to do to my 2 to make it a 1? Instead of subtracting, because would I be able to subtract all the way up and down the table with the same number? Okay, so we want to think about the same step that we can do with the same number all the way up and down the table. So it might be something like multiplying or dividing. What could I do? If I multiply 2 by 2, is it going to give me 1? Is it? No. If I divide 2 by 2, is it going to give me 1? Okay. So if I divide 2 by 2, it gives me 1. So now the thing about our unit rate table is whatever we do to one side, we want to make sure that we do it to the other side. So if I divided this number by 2 to get 1, I want to divide 6 by 2 to get whatever number I have in that missing piece, okay? So what would 6 divided by 2 give me? 3. So my missing number here is 3. Now I can go ahead and figure out how to fill out the rest of my table. So how do I get from 1 to 3? Multiplying or dividing? What do I do? 1 times what gives me 3? Really? Three times 1. So if I do 1 times 3, it gives me 3. So the whole point of our unit rate table or our ratio table is that it should be equivalent. If it's not equivalent, it doesn't work. So what I mean by equivalent is we're going to have to be able to use the same step all the way down to know that it works. So if I'm doing 1 times 3 and it gives me 3, does 2 times 3 give me 6? Right? Does 3 times 3 give me 9? It does. So I want to do the same thing here. 10 times 3 gives me what? Gives me 30. Perfect. So now, if I'm going to multiply when I go to the left, our little trick is we're going to do the opposite to go to the left. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So I'm going to divide this 45 by 3. So who can tell me what that gives me? 45 divided by 3. You guys have calculators on your computers if you don't know it off the top of your head. 15. Perfect. And if I were to check it and do 15 times 3, it should give me 45. So our little trick is from the left to the right, we should be multiplying. And from the right to the left, we should be dividing. And it should always be the same number all the way down. So now let's answer those questions. How many people will 10 cups of rice be? What does it say? How many people do 10 cups of rice feed? Huh? What did Jesus say? 30. Perfect. Thank you, Jesus. And how many cups of rice do you need to serve 45 people? What is it? He said 15. Perfect. 15 cups. Very nice. So let's go ahead and look at our next slide. So this is something that we need to learn how to do really well because we're going to be using tables all year long. Okay? So if we don't learn how to do it really well now, then we're going to get stuck during the year. Okay? So make sure that if you're confused, if you're getting stuck, you're asking those questions now. Oops. It doesn't want erase for me today. What's this? be a big old pain in the butt. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna look at a second table. Same concept. A recipe says that 6 spring rolls, so 6 spring rolls serve 3 people. So we have number of spring rolls per person, or people per spring roll. Complete the table. So we want to get to our unit rate. Remember, unit rate is always that number to 1, okay? So what did we do as our first step in that last table to figure out how we find 1? I can't even hear you through the mask. I'm coming closer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this 6 and I'm going to divide it by 6 because 6 divided by 6 gives me 1. So remember, and this is going to be a saying that we use a lot this year, whatever we do on one side, we do on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and take 3 and I'm going to divide it by 6. Now, and I'm going to make sure that I say this now instead of waiting until someone does it later. If you're saying 3 divided by 6, when you go to put it in your calculator and you're saying 3 divided by 6, make sure you're putting it in your calculator that way. 3 divided by 6. Don't change the numbers around just because you're seeing that one number is bigger. Equal. So it gives me 0.5 or 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1/2. So 1 spring roll only feeds half a person. It doesn't even feed a whole person. I don't know what size these spring rolls are. I'm going to put 4.5 because I like using 0.5. So now remember, once we figure out what our unit rate is, we're going to work our way down the table. So 1 times what gives me 0.5? One times what gives me 0.5? So if I'm looking at 1 times something gives me 2. What times 1 gives me 2? 2, right? So then the same thing can be said about 0.5. I would do 1 times 0.5 or times 1/2 gives me 1/2. My unit rate, and we're going to be writing it like this, R equals 1/2 or 0.5. So I'm going to do the same thing all the way down. 6 times 0.5. Does that give me 3? You can check it on your calculator. Yes? Perfect. So 6 times 0.5 does give me 3. So now I keep going. 30 times 0.5. What does that give me? I can't see it on this one. Someone said it. Thank you. Yes, it gives me 15. So then 40 times what? Times 0.5. What does that give me? Say it one more time. 20. Now, I don't have a number in this left piece. I have it in the right. So what do I do to get back to the left? I divide. So I'm dividing by 0.5. 28 divided by 0.5 gives me, say it one more time, 56. and we're done with our table. So now I know that 6 spring rolls feed 3 people. 30 spring rolls feed 15 people. 40 spring rolls feed 20 people. And 56 spring rolls feed 28 people. And those must be gigantic people or some really small spring rolls. Okay, so now it says, what is a proportional relationship when 2 quantities are equivalent? So the relationship between the number of cups and the number of people is a proportional relationship because it's equivalent. The number of cups of rice is proportional to the number of people. Making bread dough. So now it's going to be your turn. What I want you to do is I want you to fill in the table. Don't answer the questions. I want you to fill in the table. Can anyone remember what our first step is? What do we have to do first to figure out our unit rate? We divide. So I'm going to take my, is that 8? 8. And I'm going to divide it by 8. And then whatever I do on one side, I do to the other. I wish I could make this bigger. Oh, I can. Notice that it says a baker uses 8 tablespoons of honey for every 10 cups. So that means we already know what goes here. So if I'm taking this and dividing it by 8, then I take 10 and divide it by 8. Remember, we always got to read for more information. What does 10 divided by 8 give me? Say it again. Oh, you multiply. That's okay. So if I do 10 divided by 8 gives me 1.25. So then my unit rate would be 1.25. So now I can use my unit rate to multiply my way down.
Builds off of it, and so we found connections throughout the year that made it even easier for them.
Yeah, last year was easier.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if I'm multiplying if I'm filling out my table all the way down, I did 8 times 1.25 gave me 10. What does 20 times 1.25 give me? I can't hear you. You're gonna have to bring your whiteboard and hold it up so I can see your answer. Did you not read the material list?
Nope.
Whiteboard. For moments like these, with this dollar store. What was your answer? Huh? 25. So 13 times 1.25. And then what did we do once we got to 20 cups of flour? Are we still multiplying, or what do we do? Because remember, we're doing from right to left is division. So 20 divided by 1.25 gave me 16. Are these right? Are we good? Are you checking, Ruby? Checking our work behind us? Oops. Okay, so what is a constant of proportionality? A constant ratio unit in which proportional in any proportional relationship. It can always be found by finding how much of the second quantity per one of the first quantity. So even if you wanted to make groupings by drawing it out, that could be another way for you to help find out how to fill in the table. quarters, and dimes. So we're going to try one more. So this one says 4 quarters are equal in value to 10 dimes. I want you to go ahead and try to fill in this table. Remember, first thing we have to do is figure out this unit rate. So who remembers how to find the unit rate? What do I do? Divide by what? What's that number? 4. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 4, and it gives me 1. So whatever I do on this side, I do on the other. So I'm going to do 10 divided by 4. I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. So 10 divided by 4. So what's 10 divided by 4? Thank you, Annabelle. 2.5 or 2.50. So now that we have our unit rate, so let's get in the habit of writing our unit rate like this. R equals 2.5, and R stands for unit rate. We're going to work our way down. So from left to right on the table, what do I do? Am I multiplying or dividing? Multiplying. And from right to left, what am I doing? Dividing. Good. And I'm multiplying or dividing by which number? 2.50. So you multiply or divide by the unit rate. Okay? So go ahead and work your way. You have 2 more to figure out.
So I wish I had my finger, so I could stand back here. I want to below and ordering that this thing.
Oops. Sorry. Nice job, Luisa. Nice job, Yulivani. Nice job, Yair. Just finished that last one. Jesus, make sure you're filling out the other 2. Also, Jose, you're missing all 3. Even the one I did on the board. Nice job, Santiago. Marisol, make sure you're doing the other 2. Anabel, you too. Okay, so we said our unit rate was what number? 2.5. And then 4 times 2.5 gives us 10. 6 times 2.5 gave us what? 15. And 14 times 2.5? 35. So this isn't difficult. It's just a couple steps that we need to remember. Okay, so that was our last practice problem for today. We're going to continue looking at tables tomorrow, but we will also be looking at if I'm not mistaken, equations we're adding on tomorrow. So make sure that you're following along. For you guys at home, nice job as well. Make sure that you keep coming back on every day. So I linked our classwork to our last slide, so you can click on it and it'll take you to your classwork. Go ahead and do that now. Once you get to the classwork, I put direction videos on how to do the worksheet. And I also, just in case you can't remember how to do it, I put a video in there explaining how to find your unit rate if you can't remember. You should all have a submit button here. Okay? For those of you who have been submitting it or working out in the wrong place, don't work it out here. Because once you work it out here and click submit, it does not submit anything to me. So click on unit rate. Over here, it'll make it bigger. You'll work it out. Then you come back and submit. So you can go ahead and get started now before class is over.